Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam. Oh boy.
Find the TFS pod and our playlists wherever you stream your podcast or music. Follow us on X at TheFinalScore35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 223rd edition of the Final Score Network podcast. We're here April 30th, last day of the month. I can't believe it's already almost May. That's crazy. NBA playoffs aren't paying too much attention, but the Pistons still alive, down 3-2. Going back to Detroit tomorrow. Hopefully they can get it done. That'd be cool. Come back, be one of a handful of teams to come back from a 3-1 deficit. NHL playoffs, we're in the thick of that. We're a few weeks away from our second major in golf. Baseball, we're in the swing of it. Tigers, first place. AL Central, off to a really good start. Love that. Gives us something to look at and pay attention to other than golf. Transfer portal finally closed for football and basketball. The NFL draft is over, which we will discuss later. We'll go over some golf, hit some mailbag. Let's do this thing. And I'm taking the podium, and I want to talk about it was a tweet, just a graphic that was put out by Jonathan Givnoy the other day, Draft Express, NBA draft guy. And this is what he tweets. Only 106 players entered the 2025 NBA draft per the NBA. That's the lowest number of early entrants since 2015, down from a peak of 363 in 2021, just before the NCAA's NIL era officially started. Incredible boon for college basketball to retain so much talent. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. It's definitely NIL-centric, that guys are just wanting to play in college more. And I think it's just a tribute to the league sucking. Like, I feel like they've seen a lot of these younger guys go in just nothing. They don't pan out. They go to the G League. They go overseas. Their basketball careers are over. This is where the NIL is good, where, guys make some extra money. They make more money than they should to stay an extra year and play. But it's also the dreaded 5th and 6th year guys. Hopefully that'll come to an end soon. I pray that there is no 5th year of eligibility that the NCAA grants these yahoos, because 4 years is enough. The 5 with the red shirt, whatever, or maybe an injury, you play 2 games, whatever. I understand that. The off, the one-off cases. But these guys, they're just doing it to do it. We don't need that. But I think the early entrance thing is just shows the NBA sucks. And we've talked about that for a few years now, how the NBA is just completely gone downhill. When I was young, I enjoyed, I didn't watch all the time, but I enjoyed watching the playoffs. It was fun. It was better basketball. And then, 2015-16, after the Warriors had their mini dynasty going, it kind of has taken us just a nosedive. And it doesn't look like they're going to come up for air anytime soon. So, good. Screw the NBA.
It honestly started to shift when it got so physical in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And, the league wanted to protect Jordan a little bit. Now, he was tough. He's the GOAT, right? But, and he dealt with it like a pro. But they started to kind of change it a little bit as they saw him getting beat up, I think, a little bit. That's not why he won the 6 and still that era. But the NBA is soft. It's not basketball. We've talked about it a million times. It's just like LeBron flops when somebody goes near him and he needs a foul. Like the travels, the weird rules on advancing it. Like nobody makes anybody have to work for anything. It's a trash game. Yeah, that's why, honestly, I was surprised. I really thought, I truly in my heart of hearts thought that Jace would stay at Michigan State, because I felt like he could probably, maybe not quite earn as much, but he would get more out of it. And it's a job too, right? It's a business. It's not really a game at all. There's no joy in it, I don't see. That's why I won't watch it. I mean, Brian's keeping me posted on what the Pistons are doing. I hope they do well. That's great, but it's trash. The game is absolute trash. Excuse me. switching gears to golf. So this is a topic that I've kind of, I guess now I've probably taken both sides on this. And a more recent interaction with a golfer after just an epic fail, causing him to lose, actually has me kind of going back to what I think is the right way. So a few months ago now, I was one who kind of was like, Colin Morikawa, what are you doing? Not showing up for an interview after, a tough loss. You didn't go take your medicine. It wasn't like he had blown it either. That was, what was your boy who beat him with a great chip, Henley, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was disappointing because he had been in the lead or whatever, and he just didn't show up because he said he was too salty and too upset and too mad to talk to the press. And I was mad that he did that. A couple weeks ago, I kind of saw the other side of it to an extent in Shane Lowry, who, they put a microphone right in his face after he finished bogey, and they started asking him questions about his best friend, Rory McIlroy, but like a guy that he was competing to beat in the tournament. And he said some salty things or whatever. And I'm like, well, see, that's what you get by asking these guys too early. That was all wiped out actually that same weekend then. And I took last week off the pod, which is rare for me. I take the draft off, and I take the 1 week that we take vacation off a year. Those are the only two pods I miss. So Ryan and Riley, great job last week. But Joel Dahmen, who, if you watch the Full Swing series on Netflix, you've gotten to know him and just really like him because he's a guy's guy. He's just like a fan's person. He's down to earth. He's legit. He has struggles and failures. He kind of plays almost in a way like us. Obviously, he's way better than us. But so that same weekend, he had not qualified for the Masters, playing in Punta Cana. Shot, I think, 10 under par in his first round and was holding the lead the entire weekend. It looked good. He wasn't playing particularly well on Sunday, and he still had a 3-stroke lead with, 3-stroke lead going into the back nine at least. And it was kind of up and down, up and down. Finishes bogey, including missing a 2-foot putt, and ends up finishing in a tie for second. Okay. Yes, a money hit for sure, but more than that, just like all the stuff that comes with a win, the exemptions, the tickets into the big money events, the no-cut events, and all that kind of stuff. But what did he do in a time when anybody would have had an excuse to say, I'm just leaving? He showed up and he was brutally honest. And when asked, I'll give you a couple excerpts. I think I'm in a little bit of shock, honestly. He said afterward, it's not how you win a golf tournament. I'll tell you that. I don't deserve to win it. Bogeying the last 3 is inexcusable. They went on to ask him about what happened on that 2-foot putt. And he's just like, I just lapsed in conversation, in concentration. And he just was brutally self-reflective and honest in the most endearing way, because it was the type of pain that all of us can feel, where we make a mistake in our job, we make a mistake in our life, we make a mistake when we're playing our own rounds of golf or tennis or pickleball or whatever it is that you want to play. And it just was so raw and real. And it reminded me that so humanizes athletes. And I think he kind of does that for himself anyway, but it so humanizes that when so many people are wanting to walk away or blame that, hey, I'm pissed because I didn't play well, so I'm going to say some salty things. He was introspective, he was retrospective, and he respected the game. He respected the reporters. Honestly, I think it was cathartic for him. And I guess my point in this podium is, give me more of that across all of sports. I don't need that in game. Mom and I, Kristen and I, talk about the waste it is to talk to coaches in the middle of the half, players on their way off at halftime. That's disgraceful by the TV networks, and it's to draw eyeballs and whatever. But after games, after contests, after matches or whatever, these athletes need to own up, and part of their healing process should be able to own it and recount this is what I screwed up. This is what I did wrong. So I wanted to tip my hat to Joel. I like him anyway. I like him even more now. I was upset for him because I was watching on my phone all weekend to see how he was doing. I was so rooting for him to get that win. He's just a good dude. If you haven't seen the Full Swing series, go watch it. You'll know why. He's he and his caddy have just this real raw relationship, this honesty with each other. And that was just, in my mind, a wholesome thing in sports that we don't see nearly enough of, including at the college level.
Completely agree. Yeah, we need more of that in sports. All right, let's head to our tee up. You got this one. You're back.
Yeah, what do we do? Are we going to say tee up, or are we going to call it out of bounds, or because we're going par 3?
Yeah, we can start calling it out of bounds.
Out of bounds for golf season.
Yeah,
I like that. Give us, seasonal. So out of bounds this week. Shocker for those who listen to the podcast a lot and know this about me. Very candidly, very buried, except for in certain news mediums. Can imagine which news mediums you think wouldn't bury this, but the uncovering of the funding that Nike is doing to study the impact of transitions on young athletes. We're talking about by transition, I don't mean from football to basketball. I mean from having a wang to not. I'm talking about, Larry Thomas or whatever that dude's name was that swam with the girls with a rudder. And what really grinds my gears even more than that, on a world-renowned brand supporting that and not supporting women, are the fact that all their sponsored athletes are mom. How many of their women athletes that are their prime women athletes have you heard of? And I'll tell you, by the way, that's a rhetorical question. None who have come out against Nike. Whoa, it seems like the mighty dollar talks more than morals and principles and values. It's so sad that I, as a man, have to sit here and preach this on generally every other podcast about the disgust and the disdain I have for these people who support men pretending to be women playing women's sports. I'm a man fighting for women's rights, partly because I have a wife who swam in college. I have a daughter who swam in college, and I see and I respect that, and I have zero respect for these trainee athletes pretending to be something that they're not so that they could win because they couldn't beat their fellow dudes. And now we have a top level brand doing that. I will tell you this right now. I've got a little bit of Nike stuff certainly smattered in. Honestly, most of my Nike stuff probably has Michigan State on it because Michigan State's a Nike school. I will not be buying any more Michigan State gear with Nike on it. Thank you, Nudge. Thank you. What's the other place that we like to go in East Lansing? Rally House, is that what it's called? Thank you. What's the other one that you like?
But I get Nike stuff from there.
I mean, but these places certainly sell Nike stuff. But until Nike can come clean and say, you know what, we made a mistake, we shouldn't be doing this, you ain't getting another dime from me. I don't care what it is. You can go just do yourself. I think it's disgusting that this is what this world has come to, that we have to scream through all the noise for equality for women in sports. How egregious and ridiculous is this? And when will it stop?
Never.
Because we still have states defying President Trump's orders. Maine, Washington, Illinois, California. Not listening clearly to the majority of their people. It's their government. It's their government leaders who put it under human rights. It's not a human right to say, I tucked my wiener and therefore I get to compete against women. That's not how it goes. I'm sorry. There's a million scientific reasons for it to not. You want to have your own little special league? Knock yourself out. You are not a woman. You were not born a woman. You are not a woman. You are not a female. You are not to compete against other women. Period.
Amen. You just end it right there. That was really good. All right, let's.
I had to come back with a strong after vengeance. A week off.
Yeah, I like it. Well, we're gonna do a par 3. I like the out of bounds. We'll stick with that maybe for the summer. If we're gonna do par 3, maybe we'll throw in a 4 downs or 4 corners for a Mount Rushmore here.
Rushmore, yeah.
But our first shot on the par 3 is presented by NSG North Sports Group. Is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years experience in sports sponsorship and much more. Learn more about them today at northsportsgroup.com. Let's talk 2 weeks ago, because we did not get to recap the RBC Heritage at Harbortown. Right. Justin Thomas, we did not talk about this at all last week, and I want to, because Justin Thomas is one of my favorite golfers. Huge win. First win in almost 3 years, dating back to the PGA Championship in Tulsa. Why am I forgetting?
He wasn't
Southern
even
Hills.
he wasn't even engaged, nor of course had
Nope.
a daughter the last time he won.
Yeah, first married one as a married man, first one as a dad. And Andrew Novak, a guy that has been really a surprise this season. Got in the playoff with Justin. Thomas could have blown it with that penalty he took in the bunker early. I think it was on Saturday when that happened. That could have cost him, but gets in the playoff, makes the bomb putt on 18 to win it. And I'm just happy for him, and I think this could propel him to a few more wins this year. Definitely Quail Hollow could be a really, really good fit for him, as he won his first PGA Championship there. He's done well at the Wells Fargo, now the Truist Championship in the past. And he's just a PGA guy. I could see him winning a few more events, so Memorial maybe. That's the kind of course that fits him pretty well. Maybe the Canadian Open, something like that. I think he's got a chance to go on. He's second, I think, in the FedEx Cup right now, behind only Rory. Was obviously a pretty big grip on it after the year that he's had so far. But shout out to Justin for just a big win at one of our favorite courses that we have played. It's always fun
and a favorite to watch.
Fun to see that on TV, just knowing the course a little bit. Obviously don't remember every hole. They're ripping it up now, I think. I'm pretty sure they started this week, actually, as they're going to do a little renovation to some bunkers, some of that fun stuff. I know for that event you picked Scotty. He did pretty well. He just didn't putt well. That's kind of been the story.
It's been his story, kind of like it was a few years ago.
That's kind of been his thing.
He's just not firing on all cylinders, but he's finishing in the top 10 every week virtually.
His C+, B- game is good enough to be a top 10 player week in, week out. Other big names are up there. Daniel Berger, I think he could win an event this year.
Who'd you pick? I can't remember.
I picked, don't even remember, Sung Jae. He got 11th, so not bad. Not a bad week. Russell Henley continues to play well. I think he might be a dark horse for the Ryder Cup. We've talked about that. Sam Burns, decent.
Scotty are a good pair.
Yeah. There's a lot of U.S. guys that are like, I think the first 6 to 7 spots for the Ryder Cup are pretty easy. The rest is going to be hard for Keegan because there's guys that have played well this year, guys that have played well historically, young guys. He's going to have options. He's going to have tough decisions to make, but that's why he's the captain and we're not. And speaking of that, you see Brant Snedeker's the next President's Cup captain at Medina.
Nice.
Again, with Jeff Ogilvy for the international team. But that was the RBC.
He's famous because of Phil's blown U.S. Open.
Phil choking.
Was that winged foot, right?
Yeah, it was a 2006 or 7. I don't know what year that was. I don't.
Right around in there.
Obviously. But that was the RBC, and then last week we had also the Corrales. That was, you talked about that. Joel blew it. Derek Higo, dude needs to cut his hair. Looks ridiculous, but whatever. That's a cool looking course. Then we had the Zurich last week, the team event, the only sanctioned team event. Andrew Novak and Ben Griffin both get their first PGA Tour wins.
Cool for Novak. He's been right there. So he had like third, second, or something like that in his last 3 events prior to that. So he'd been due for a win.
Really trending. He's played good golf. He kind of plays like I listen to the Smiley Kaufman show and talks about how he kind of just plays like an average guy, just kind of
smiles when he hits it well, gets pissed when he doesn't, but he doesn't throw clubs and that kind of stuff, which is good.
He wears his emotion on his sleeve, which is cool to see with a guy like that. But good for them, man. I mean, Griffin made that bomb putt that virtually won it for them on 17. I'm sorry. That was cool. I don't like the video of the guy going into the water with his shirt off or whatever. There's freaking gators there, man. Why would you do that?
He was down to his pants, just rolled up.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
No, you couldn't pay me enough money to do something like that, especially there. I wouldn't do that here.
Big gators there.
Yeah, those are some monsters. That New Orleans food. But I don't really have much else on the Zurich. I mean, it's an interesting week. Obviously not too many big names playing in this tournament, but it was decent. It was decent. We had how old's that guy? Was it Blades Brown? Is that his name?
17, right?
Yeah, 17 years old, finished tied for second in the Corn Ferry event. That's pretty sweet. Good for him.
Trying to earn as well. Like he's passed up for the CJ Cup this weekend. He passed up a sponsors exemption because he wants to get in the top 25 to be able to earn his card through the Corn Ferry Tour, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. So I hope he's successful. I don't think there's too much else golf wise. I mean, PGA a few weeks away. Cool Hollow. It's not my favorite venue, but whatever, it's okay. Green Mile. Lots of big names have won there. So should be a good tournament. John Daly's birthday the other day I saw. That's fun. I did have this written down. Shout out Michael Block. He's coming back to the PGA Championship. Finished pretty high in the PGA.
I saw he shot a 64 in the first
PGA
day.
Professional Championship, and he earns his way in again. And
nice.
Hopefully they pair him with Rory. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be fun.
You have anything else golf wise? Then we can preview. Other than that, we can just preview CJ Cup.
Yeah, nope. I got Chris has a couple questions that are golf related, but for those are mailbag, and then I've got one other thing that I pulled off of TikTok that we'll do in the mailbag hodgepodge.
All right. Well, let's do our one and done pick for the week. CJ Cup, Byron Nelson at TBC Craig Ranch. Decent tournament, not anything to write home about, but it's better than the Corrales Punta Cana or the Amex or something like that. Decent names playing in this one. Taylor Pendrith is defending. He has a good chance. Scotty's playing, really good chance. Jordan Spieth.
Scotty's a favorite.
Couple Dallas guys. Tom Kim, he lives in Dallas. Will Zalatoris, he's a Texas kid. Lots of decent names in there. And that's usually a very birdie friendly golf course. Scores usually in the low to mid 20 under par. What are you thinking?
I'm going to go with Sam Burns. I don't think I've taken Burnsy this year.
No, you have not. And I'm going to go with a guy that I don't know if you've taken either. I'm going to go Texas boy. I just spoke his name, Will Zalatoris. I think he's due.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do well.
Yeah, I like Will a lot. Good guy. Let's go with him. So Will Zalatoris and Sam Burns. We'll keep an eye on that this weekend. Then after that, we get the Truth and the PGA. So giddy up. All right, that is our golf segment this week. We've reviewed the ravines, correct?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about it next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think
we've done a review.
Yeah, we definitely have. All right, let's go to shot 2. I'll do our presenting sponsor read going to the third one. Mailbag.
Yeah, mailbag / hodgepodge. Before we get into mailbag, I got quite a few from Chris. I just wanted to make a comment about Jalen Hurts skipping the White House visit.
I forgot about that. We should have out of bounds.
Like how bush league is that?
Something going on. Shut up, dude.
Like, have some respect for the office of the President of the United States. Like, it's a privilege to go to the White House to celebrate your Super Bowl victory. That kind of political garbage from athletes has about as much use as one-ply toilet paper in my mind.
And then the garbage with people like saying stuff about Saquon Barkley for playing golf with Trump and all this stuff. It's like if this
he also played golf with Obama too. So like it's not about the politics.
These people are just so
idiots.
Just look for the bad.
Yep. Always.
Quite not unbelievable because we're so used to it, but
whatever. Okay. Oh shoot, I lost it. I had you get to pick 3 thing and I lost it. So forget that one. I had a TikTok geared up and then it went away. All right, did you say there's any Mitchapalooza?
Nope.
No Mitchapalooza. Okay, we got plenty of Chrisapalooza this week. So let's dig into Chris. Let me go over to my shared notes with Chris. We've got a good running list here. All right, good variety of stuff. I glanced at it before the pod. Here's a good one. What's the best one-liner you've heard on the golf course? Mine is she had it in her mouth and the kids came in for a putt that just misses.
That's probably up there.
Yeah, also known as a prom date.
Yeah.
What's another one? What's the one that I always used to say? Rockefeller died in the hole. My favorite is my own personal one-liner is that ball went value jet. I'm going to hell for that, but
Yeah.
if you know what value jet is, you know that it nose dove into the mud, and that's kind of what I'll say is if you are approaching a green and you got a high shot that just disappears into the bank. That's one of my favorite ones too. You got any other ones?
Nope, those are all good.
All right. This you kind of touched on this a little bit, Ryan, but Chris says, do you think Justin Thomas gets another win this year?
Yeah.
How do you think he'll perform in the next 3 majors?
Sure do. Yeah, I don't know. I think Quill Holloway's got a good chance. U.S. Open. He's historically performed great in those, so I don't know. Open, he's kind of hit or miss. So I would say PGA is his best shot at it, and then East Lake he's done well before. I can't remember. I don't know where the BMW is this year, but
is it back in Chicago maybe this year?
It might be at Medina. I don't. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely could see Justin getting one more win. I think Ryan's right. I think a lot of guys play well at Quill Hollow. But I think, JT will be right there. I think he's a PGA. Like some golfers, some tournaments, some majors just suit certain golfers better. Like some guys are just U.S. Open contenders. Some guys are PGA contenders. Some guys are Masters, and some guys are like singularly Open contenders. JT hasn't traditionally been a contender across the board. That stands out to me. I could certainly be wrong, but except for at the PGA. I think he's got probably as good a shot as anybody, honestly. Yeah. I think he has been playing well this year, and he finally got the putter hot at the right time at RBC. I think he'll win another one, and I think he can contend in the PGA. I think, I could see a top 25 or something U.S. Open and an Open, but...
Yeah, well, to answer the BMW questions, at Caves Valley, and Owings Mills was there a few years ago, and then next year it's actually at Bellerive, so...
Oh, Caves Valley is where we had that epic Bryson battle, right?
Back and forth. Yeah, Justin Thomas, best U.S. Open finish T8 in 2020, and his best Open finish is T11 in 2019. Yeah, so nothing too crazy out of him in those majors.
All right, shifting gears. Michigan State Hoops has added 2 transfers. What are your expectations for each in the upcoming season?
Yeah, we'll start with Trey Fort. I think as of now, he would probably be the starting 2 guard. I think, double-digit points, 10, 11 points a game, few assists, 3 or 4 rebounds, play good defense, shoot, mid to high 30s from 3, and I would say that's a pretty respectable season. It'd fill a gap for Michigan State, and then Caleb Lund, I think he's more underrated than Trey Fort because of his athleticism, and I think he's a really good shooter. It's undervalued. He shot 40% on decent volume. Obviously not playing high major competition all the time, but I think his athleticism is going to show. I think he's going to be a good offensive rebounder for Michigan State. Play a little 3 and 4. I think he could average 7, 8, 9 points a game and 5 rebounds, and I think that would be really good. That fit the Frankie Fiddler rule and then some, and I think that he's got more potential.
I think he's got a better build.
He's got 2 years of eligibility too, so you can get more out of him.
If anybody who listens regularly and you like to watch that stuff, whether you have a TikTok account of your own or not, but look up Andrew Talks Hoops. I think he also has a YouTube channel.
He does, yeah.
He does really thoughtful breakdowns. I assume it's beyond Michigan State, but he does he does he definitely breaks down Michigan State. That's the stuff that I see. Chris and I share that back and forth. He did some really nice breakdowns of both these players in both of these editions. He gets basketball nerdy, but not in a way that, like, obviously from my perspective, Ryan's perspective, we get that. I coached, Ryan played, but you don't have to be like that level. Like, I think he keeps it high level enough that it's easy to understand, and you can kind of like get some kind of a point of view that you're like, I never really looked at it that way. He kind of opens your eyes to look at the big picture, and he breaks down the good and the bad. It's not just all the fluff and why this is great, but I recommend, because I saw those both for both players like a week or so ago, and I thought he did a really good job. Yeah. And I learned something different about both of those guys, because as I age up, Ryan is my main source. I'm like too lazy to read and too lazy to go out and do stuff and find it and whatever. So Ryan usually tells me about it, which is kind of the role that I played when I was his age too. So We got to have kind of high hopes for these guys because we've got some shoes to fill. I still think and hope that we'll get one more guy.
They'll get
fill
one
out the
more,
roster.
just a matter of who.
And I think, then development, right? Like guys can continue to develop. I think, it'll be a good season for Michigan State, which schedule just came out. It's pretty much a reverse for Big Ten of what it was this year. One switch is we play Indiana twice, not Illinois twice. So, some of those great home games that we had last year, like Purdue, Wisconsin, whatever, those are road games now. Those are going to be tough. Not going to be an easy schedule, but, we'll see. We didn't go into last year with hopes of much better than fifth place, and it was one of Michigan State's best Big Ten seasons ever. So we shall see. Back to golf. The golf media is constantly harping on slow play. What are some of the best ideas you have or have heard to solve the slow play issue?
Well,
and he says, does shaving 10 minutes off round times really make a difference for fans? What amount of time would make a difference to the fans? So I think I'm going to take this in two ways, but go ahead.
I would say a shot clock, some sort of clock. Like you get up, you have once someone.
It doesn't have to be like this TGL or whatever that was called. Like it doesn't have to be that quick. But
like you have like a minute and a half. If you go over that, it's a penalty. Like there's too much where these guys check the lay off, switch clubs, talk to their cat. Like, dude, like it's not. I get it. There's money on the line. You want to win, whatever. But you talking an extra 5 seconds, like minutes, not gonna change your shot.
Right.
I think waiting for wind, but. Like when you back off, I don't know, switch club, all this stuff.
Yeah. The other thing I would say too is, and I saw this weekend in the Zurich, is I get it. Like you get some complex rules situations, like it was the 18th hole and Hojgaard drove it nearly out of bounds, and then he was getting relief, luckily for him, because it doesn't happen for us, away from like hospitality tents and cart path and stuff. I feel like those rules things could be sped up. You've got rules officials on every hole. I just feel like you could, and I get it, you got to wait for the player to get there, you got to wait to find the ball and all that kind of stuff. But like, I think some of those things could just trim it up. Honestly, at the pro level, I really, as a fan, I don't care. I mean, because when I'm watching the tournaments where I'm really watching all day are the majors. And then I'll watch stuff like RBC, or if it's a rainy day, or, I'll watch some of the better tournaments. But like this weekend, I'll watch a few holes here and there, but I don't sit down and like make it my whole afternoon on Saturday or Sunday. So as a fan, like Chris, I agree. It's not really a huge impact on me if their 5.5 hour round becomes 5 hours and 20 minutes. I just think for the sake of the guys, like I just think they need to speed it up. I'll say at the amateur level, 100%, and this will never happen because public courses try to book in as many tee times as they can. It should be an absolute. If you are a rated golf course, so in Michigan, it's Golf Association of Michigan, GAM rated golf course, you are mandated to have 10-minute gaps between your tee times. And then the second thing that would get amateurs moving is rangers who actually freaking move you along. And I'm not saying that they have to be a-holes, because you don't want that bad experience when you play golf. But I think that just driving by and giving a little bit of side eye doesn't do it. I think you got to say, hey guys, look, you're falling behind. We got to get you caught up, or we're going to have to skip you ahead. And if people want to get pissed because they're playing a lot of money, then let them get pissed. But I just think, and I say that as, again, on TikTok, you saw this major golf altercation. Did you see that fight with a big fat guy and whatever they're throwing down? I think that was over slow play. I just feel like a little bit more space between tee times. And people just learning, like Ryan and I have talked about this, almost like a driver's license for golf. Like, learning how to play fast, because you can be bad and still play fast. And in fact, the mantra is, if you're bad, play faster or whatever. There's so many things, and I almost think it's like you got to have beginner courses and then intermediate and or advanced courses. And like guys that have a 25 handicap that takes 6 hours to play don't get to play Pilgrim's Run. Right. They don't get to play the ravines. They play the Muni tracks, the North Kents, the things like that, because they're beginners. They're more wide open. They can take their time. and they feel less pressure too. And I have zero problem with that. I'm not saying that I don't want to grow the game, because I have no problem with that. But I just think for the people who play and know how to play, the only other alternative half the time is a country club, and that's too damn expensive. And even like I'm hearing from my buddies at Blythefield that's slow, because they're pretty much maxed out on their membership, and they've got a mix of human rain delays playing with guys that like to play fast. So I think it's always going to be a problem, honestly. I'd love it like some sort of an etiquette test or some sort of a quick play test. And I just think a couple of Rangers roaming around, letting them know, hell, guys will listen to the hot golf cart girls or the beverage cart girls, make them your Rangers. Hey, sweetie, can you speed it up a little bit of sweet talk? Guys would probably move a little bit faster. So that's kind of how I look at that. Another one, an off sports one. He says maybe this should go in the sprint, but it'd probably be too long for a sprint. What 5 recent or new shows do you consider must see?
I don't really watched a ton of.
Well, we watched Night Agent.
Night Agent season one. Pretty good.
Good recommendation from Dobb. That was a good. Season 1 was really good. I heard season 2 gets a little bit wonky, so I don't think we're going to watch season 2. But see, I always go back to tried and true. I'm like trying to wait to
Tires is pretty.
I'm either trying to get Ryan and Elena to start watching Friday Night Lights, or he's going to watch it with me again, because I thought that was an excellent show. Yeah, what was that show we watched? Tires. That was pretty funny. I think it's just like we kind of more stumble upon those onesie twosies, like the crazy weather shows or the Vietnam one that's coming up, or sports. It's like sports, war, or weather wins out. Yeah, half the time.
I mean, Band of Brothers, Pacific, both really good.
But those are not brand new though.
No,
those are older.
But we recently watched them.
Yeah.
I Think You Should Leave. That's pretty funny. Detroiters. Those are both Netflix.
Definitely a different kind of sense of humor for sure.
Oh yeah, it's really stupid. It's funny.
And then Chris's last question: should Liv hold a 4-man scramble event?
I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I think it's a good idea, but how about this for, I didn't mention this in the golf. The rerun that was on the PG or on CBS during the weather delay on Sunday had more viewers than Liv did at its peak.
That's crazy. Nobody cares about Liv.
No, it's just
people mildly care still about Koepka because he wins, he contends in majors.
Bryson.
They care about Bryson.
Rahm a little bit. The rest of them, no.
They just don't. It's like, I mean, those guys went there and they got a lot of money, but they're kind of toiling in anonymity now. Maybe that's what they want. Great, more power to them. Dustin Johnson fell off the face of the earth. He's no good anymore. Whatever. I don't think golf has suffered without those guys, because Bryson makes enough of an appearance in the majors to kind of linger. Koepka's kind of losing that unless he steps up and wins another major again soon. So, I don't know. Liv can just still go away, but I don't know that they're ever going to solve that problem. So.
Right.
All right. That is Mailbag, sponsored solely this week by Chrisapalooza.
All right. We'll go to shot 3. Before that, a word from our presenting sponsor, Team Anders Realty. Will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com. Let's do a little bit of NFL draft review. Obviously, Riley and I tackled that last week. That was a lot of fun. But I want to go over it and some of the picks, some surprises, some funny stuff, some bad stuff, whatever you want to say. Maybe talk about the Lions quick. I just want to start with saying Riley and I did pretty good in the first, 7-8 picks, and then kind of fell off, I think, after that. But let's start with.
Let me say something. Here's why: is because all the people who are the quote draft experts are full of shit.
No, they're idiots.
Minus the first 5 to 7, maybe 10 picks, which are pretty obvious. Either because it's particular need for a team, or there's just guys that are always those guys.
Yep.
The rest of it is it's like nobody could have predicted the Lions were going to take Jahmyr Gibbs a couple years ago at 14 or whatever it was.
Right.
anybody who pretends they know, they don't know jack. Because here's the thing: Schefter, Mel Kiper, all these things, they can
Mel
have all their
Kiper's the
connections.
worst.
They can have all these connections they want. Who do you think is really telling you the truth? Just because you're a reporter for ESPN,
Just 'cause
they're blowing smoke.
Just because your hair's glued
They
to your
don't-
head, Mel.
They don't know that you're not leaking that information elsewhere. So I give you guys credit for doing it, and going off of what you learned as obviously your go by, because you can't watch all these players. And that's the thing, is that's their quote job, to watch all this film
Must
and watch
be
all these players. They don't know what the hell they're talking
I
about.
wish I could do that. That'd be fun. The biggest surprise earlier,
They're less accurate than Weatherman.
right, was Hunter, or was not Hunter, but the Jags trading up for him. I thought the Browns were surefire going to do that and stay there and pick him, but
They picked number 2 and they got 2 players.
yeah.
They got a receiver and a defensive back.
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing too crazy. I mean, the first, I was a little surprised that Loveland went into the Bears instead of Tyler Warren. I think it's a blocking thing for Ben Johnson with him being a tight ends guy, but I think Tyler Warren's going to be a better pro.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Cowboys drafting a guard, that doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, they're just that's a mess of a franchise, I'll tell you that right now. Gray Zabel, I prayed that he fell to the Lions, and he went pretty early, 18th. I think Shamar Stewart at 17 to the Bengals was a bit of a reach. He's okay. Igbuka went a little earlier than I thought he might. Derek Harmon, good story there.
Mom
Former
passed
Spartan,
away,
Mom passed away right after he got picked.
Mhm.
Was fighting.
We'll take credit for him because he played mostly at Michigan State.
He's a Michigan kid. Chargers went running back, Amore and Hampton. I think that's a really nice pick. I don't know why the Packers continue to draft these receivers. They don't have any infrastructure aside. Like, Jordan Love is the most mid quarterback.
They picked 2 in the first 2 rounds too, didn't they? Or in the first 3
They have
rounds?
like 8 receivers on their roster.
And they've got Reed, who's really
They
good.
have Reed,
and,
they have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Luke Musgrave's a tight end, but they have him. Then they have Wicks. I mean, they have a ton of them. Not sure what they're going to do there. Then New York, the football Giants trading up to get Jackson Dart. I thought that was interesting. He's okay. I'm going to say this draft class wasn't great in quarterbacks. Falcons trading to get James Pierce. I don't know about that one. That guy's a issue. No other real surprises in the round. I think Jihad Campbell to the Eagles was a bit of a steal for them. I'll guess I can go do the Lions really quick. Tyleek Williams, I like the pick. Not sexy or anything, but it fills a need with DJ Reader getting old, Aleem McNeil coming off an injury. Big guy that can plug the middle. He can get after the passer a little bit.
blue collar guy.
Ohio State, he's a winner. Big guy, 6'3", 330. I mean, that's a big guy. The Lions, other than him, I mean, Tate Ratledge, that's one of my favorite picks the Lions had. Dude, he literally calls himself a dirt bag. And he's going to play guard for the Lions. How could you not want that? He's big, too.
Mullet.
6'7", 308 guard.
Something only like 2 sacks allowed and tons of snaps.
37 games at right guard, and his workout at the combine was impressive. Fires off the ball, knocks defenders back, and stays connected in the run game. Yeah. He's pretty dang
I'll tell
good.
you who I'm reading more and more about, and this partially because this kid is from West Michigan, fairly small school in West Michigan. Tesla, yeah. Like, I'm like, you see his stats and you're like, well, those are pretty pedestrian, whatever. And then you go look at his numbers from the combine, but then you go look at what he did at Hillsdale. And by the way, don't sleep on Hillsdale as a D2 producing, because Hillsdale has created a really good third rounder in the past, a Grand Rapids guy. Now his name is escaping me. Huge left tackle.
Why am I forgetting his name?
I can't think of it either, but played for the Raiders and whatever. Like, he was a really good player in the NFL for a long time. Big, massive dude. Beldier, yeah. Jared Beldier. This guy, Tesla, is big. He's fast. He's got great hands. He had a shitty quarterback at Arkansas, so his numbers weren't that great there. So
and he's going to be a bit of a project, but Brad Holmes said that he was his favorite receiver in the draft because of the way he just stuck his nose in the run game. He made plays. He's a good special teams guy. He can make plays. He can go high point. He's athletic. His RAS score was really high. The Lions really pay attention to that. They had a really good grade on him, and if they have a good grade on him, I'm going to trust him.
They've got no reason not to trust him at this point.
It's a great story, especially when he usually showed up to his interview with the Lions in a Lions jersey.
Oh, no, I didn't see that part.
A Lions fan his whole life.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. But a 4.340, wow. Pretty impressive.
At his size, too.
For a white guy, too.
Yeah.
White guy speed.
Pretty fly for a white guy.
I think he'd be a nice player for the Lions with time. I think his blocking and his mentality, I think that fits the Lions bill really well. I'm excited for him. It's pretty cool to have a West Michigan guy playing for Detroit. Miles Frazier, their 5th-round pick, they traded up for him. He's from LSU. Also, just that, I don't know how he fell. The 5th-round, top 100 prospect. He's going to be good. He could start. Really, he could. Then one of the low-key dark horse picks was the guy from Boise State, Ahmad Hassinen. He's the only player in college football history from Egypt. He's pretty raw. Just started playing football recently, but he's an animal.
He's an OKG.
He is. He's fast. He's 6'2", 267, so he's pretty big, but he's quick and powerful. I think he could, with some more teaching, I think he could be a nice player for the Lions. And they got Dan Jackson from Georgia, 3 Georgia guys. He's going to be a good special teams player. And then Dominic Levet, receiver's kind of a 7th round pick. Don't usually pan out, but it's all right. They already got rid of Antoine Green, who they picked a few years ago in the 6th or 7th round receiver. They released him. Let's address the elephant in the room. Oh, poor Shador.
I am so tired of everybody wanting to make this a collusion or a race issue or whatever. Take his loudmouth father out of it in Dion and just look at the tape. He doesn't have a great arm. He's accurate. He holds the ball too long. He takes unnecessary sacks. He sometimes takes unnecessary risks. And this is just the football stuff. His measurables, he didn't perform at the combine, I think because he knew he would hurt his draft stock. That's my belief typically when guys don't go to the combine. Is either they're hurt and they're trying to nurse it back to health, or they don't, or they think they're going to hurt themselves and not help themselves. Yep. So all these, again, experts, pundits, whatever, shove it with the NFL owners colluded because they don't like Dion or whatever. No, this is a business. And you're not going to hang your hat on a franchise quarterback who's not a franchise quarterback. I just read an article, and I'm going to read an excerpt from it in a minute, like comparing him flash-wise, not literal substance issues that Johnny Manziel had, but like he's comparable to that. It's like all this flash and dash and whatever. Manziel was a better quarterback, but he's just like all about himself, right? Like somebody asked him in a question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm going to be the mayor of this town. Like, he doesn't give 2 shits about football. And I heard another story was he and Cam Ward were at some sort of a workout, pre-draft workout together, and he's talking to him about, yo, bro, you want to cut a rap album? And Cam's like, no, I'm a football player. I love football. I eat, sleep, drink football. I don't want to be a rapper. I want to be a football player. Here's a great excerpt that I just read that I thought that's pretty telling. A league source told Fox Sports that a top 7 team asked Sanders to study his playbook for an install at their interview, but he showed up unprepared and instead used the time in the interview to interview the team's leadership. He asked what the plan was to support him. The question might have been okay after he scored an A+ on the install, but because Sanders didn't do the work the team requested, the question came off as presumptuous. I just more and more that kind of stuff. He was unprepared, lack of professionalism, lack of self-awareness, not showing up to have these these interviews to begin with. People were kind of ripping him for his attitude, and people were, oh, that's just a pre-draft smokescreen or whatever. But it wasn't. Like dude showing up with Louis Vuitton bags full of cash and flashing $30,000 watches and like. Just like, you want that to be the base of your franchise and the leader in your locker room, especially like Cleveland Browns picked him anyway. He's their QB5 right now.
That's crazy.
They picked him probably because they're like, well, what the hell, we'll go for him. But like a franchise like the Cleveland Browns could not afford to waste a number one pick on him and have him fail because they're like
They've
where
done it
quarterbacks
so
go to
many
die,
times.
right? It's just like I'm so tired of hearing it. And by the way, like I'm not an ESPN guy, just like I'm no longer a Nike guy. I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to be a Fox Sports guy because like if I go into the Fox Sports app and across the top there's like 10 hot articles or whatever, or 10 common articles. Lately, like 4 or 5 of them for the last week before and then the week since has been all about why did Shedeur drop and what happened and collusion. And like, stop talking about it already. He is an average quarterback. There's your answer. I don't need Desmond to tell me, I can't believe he dropped. Then you're an idiot because I'm telling you as somebody who only watches as a slightly more than casual fan, he's not that good. Travis Hunter, yes. In fact, like his smile is infectious, his positive attitude is infectious. Like you pull him away from Shedeur, and I watched him on his own when he got drafted.
Yeah, he's fine.
Like that was great. And I think he's going to be a good NFL. He's going to probably be a great NFL player. Shedeur Sanders, if he lasts 5 years, is going to be nothing more than an average player. If you take his name away, just like if you take Bronny's name away, they are not even in the league. They're not in the league. They're not that good.
Look at his stupid brother, Shiloh. Remember they thought, he's going to be a mid-round pick. Didn't get drafted.
Right.
Just because your name doesn't mean you get drafted.
Exactly.
It's not. The NFL's a business. They know what this is all about. He's an ass bag. He's a bad teammate.
Mm-hmm.
He's a clown. He's self-centered. He's arrogant. He's got the dad issue. I mean, like Dion, awesome athlete. Like there's no doubt. Him as a football coach and as a personality. Oh my goodness, it's too much. It's gotten to be ridiculous. If he has any brain in that thick skull, he would look in the mirror and say, you know what, maybe I should lay off of this stuff and calm down. But he won't because that's part of their shtick. It's like the LeVar Ball, thing with his sons. It's the same effing thing. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
And he's in the prank calling, like hilarious. Like it's childish, but it's pretty funny because fool you.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Like that tells me that the fun that youth can have that's really harmless in the grand scheme of things is not
It
dead.
might hurt their feelings.
Because I'll tell you a story, Ryan. You might not know this, but when I was probably in 7th grade, I had a friend who convinced me that it'd be fun if we called this 1-800 number from like some TV ad for like this jewelry, and this like we pick a random address and we order this stuff. And I missed a key step, and I had to say COD, which meant credit on delivery, because then they wouldn't ask for your information. And I kind of was like, oh yeah, credit card, Visa, and I started to give them, and I'm like, and I hung up, and they traced the call, and I got in trouble because my dad found out when I was gone, like I was in Indiana visiting Buddy or something like that the next week. Fortunately, he kind of thought it was a little bit funny, but like that was meant to be harmless, right? Like I was gonna send some $19.99 worth of fake sterling jewelry to some random Joe's house, and he was going to get this thing and be PO'd that he got an order. Worst case, he was out $20, which would have been a bad thing for me. But like worst case, he just refused the delivery, and it's just the whole hassle thing, right? Like that's a prank. Like no harm, no foul, no physical harm, no whatever. I think it's pretty funny. I mean, it's not right that he did it. Obviously, I'm not condoning that you should do things that are wrong, but just kind of a funny moment, and it just kind of showed me that, hey, 20-year-olds can still figure out how to a little bit of a way to have fun beyond stupid social media or or something like that. So
well, they got fined. His dad got fined $100,000.
Yeah, so I'm sure he'll pay the price for it, but
probably not though. He's rich, it's fine.
Who knows?
I don't really.
They're all laughing about it.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else draft wise. NFL
Michigan State guy got drafted.
Yeah,
I was actually kind of surprised. Like Miller, the center, didn't a couple of those guys. But
size Newman, good size. I mean, good for him.
Saw Kim got signed by the Bears.
He could win that job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. NFL schedule comes out in a couple weeks. Should be fun. Last thing on the draft. What in the world are these guys wearing to the draft?
Oh.
I wouldn't be caught dead wearing what they wear. They wear like suit coats without a shirt on. Like, what is going on?
Here's the thing: is like it's all about look at me, look at me, look at me. Like, first of all, I give a lot of credit to the first round guys who don't go and who are like, you know what, I'm going to celebrate this at home with my family. I'm going to be in, jeans and a sweatshirt or jeans and shorts and a golf shirt or something. Like,
right?
I don't need this. Give me one of those guys. Those are the OKG Lions kind of guys, like the non-pretentious, the guys that are the guys that are going to go to work. They're not in it for themselves. They're in it for the team.
Yeah, I agree. Didn't touch on it in the Shot 2 mailbag hodgepodge, but if you have spare time, just Google Bill Belichick and his stupid girlfriend that's younger than me and have fun. What a joke. All right, let's sprint this baby home. Was this the worst quarterback draft class of the century?
I mean, you probably would know better than me at a glance. I mean, pretty close. Like,
yes,
even Cam Ward, I think is going to be a good quarterback, but I don't think he's in a typical year where there's more talent in the draft. He's not a number one guy.
You put him in a normal quarterback.
I mean, a quarterback is often going to go first because the team that's drafting first usually needs a quarterback. I don't think he's a franchise-saving guy for Tennessee. Could he be good for Tennessee? Yeah, sure, but he's not. He's not even like Jaden Daniels or any like. He's none of that, even in my opinion. So yeah, I'll say it was a pretty ho-hum class. One of the teams most excited about the quarterback they got is Pittsburgh with Will Howard.
Yeah, Lord. All right, will more schools? I don't know if you saw this, but Kentucky made their athletic department into an LLC. Do you think that more schools will start to do this?
Until they fix the problem, probably.
Yeah, I think it'll continue.
I also hope more schools sue the players that leave and breach their contracts.
Arkansas, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Should Lawrence Thomas let Abdul Carter use his old number?
No.
56, is that what he was?
Yeah, 56.
Yeah,
no.
It's BS. Why would you even ask a guy like that?
If you're that guy and you want to, like, Cousins gave up playing in the number that he liked to wear, so Pitts could keep it or whatever. Like, numbers are sacred to guys, and if you get a number retired, you shouldn't be able to wear it. It's one thing if it's, quote, retired, but it's still in play, like some programs that do, like the Yankees, they're going to run out of numbers at some point in time.
Right.
Like, I get that, but no, I have no issues with him saying no. Wear number 11. That's what you wore at Penn State.
Exactly. Last one. Do PGA Tour events need to change their venue more often? For example, like do 2 years at one place, 2 years at another, or have a rotation in the area? Because I feel like some of these events get a little sour, like especially this one this weekend, like the TPC Fairgrounds. Yeah, it's okay, but I'm sure there's other courses in the Dallas area that would be willing to have an event that would be more fun for the viewers, whatever. Like how they do it for the BMW, how they played out west at that Colorado course. That was sweet. Like, it was different. The elevation changed. Like, you don't get that. I think that that needs to happen more often with some of these smaller events. I
mean, maybe be smaller events because, like, I would never want them to see them move away from Harbortown, right? For like the RBC.
But I mean, like the CJ Cup or the Amex, or
unless there's something special about it. The Amex has the trio of courses, right? So that's what's special about fun. That. Like I think,
or like the Honda. There's plenty of courses in the area that.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something really unique about it, then no, we can deal with the fact that it's the same course all the time. Like obviously TPC Scottsdale is a particularly easy course for pros, but you got 16, you got the reachable par fives, like there's character to that, right? So in those cases where maybe there's not like a standout character trait of a course, yeah, I'd be okay with that.
All right. That is the episode. We appreciate you all listening. Let us know if you have any questions you want us to answer, any topics you want us to hit on the upcoming podcast. But yeah, good to be back in the swing of things here, and as we roll into the month of May, and one step closer to full-time warmth and full-time golf season. Then once that passes, football season, and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Heck yeah, and I know last week Ryan shouted out 3 new listeners. Appreciate all you guys that are new listeners. Spread the word. We're not in this, obviously, to make any big bank or anything like that. It's just more of a father-son enjoyment thing. But it's fun to know that there's people out there that get something out of the podcast, so we appreciate you guys. Meantime, as R.W. Borum once said, we make our decisions, and then our decisions turn around and make us.